So as a way of definition, research ethics just refers to the laws that guide you during research. It refers to adverse set of values, norms, and institutional regulations. Different institutes have subtle rules that guide their research, but generally we have an umbrella of rules that guides research as a whole. Ethics is the systemic study of morality. Like in anything you do, there are rules and regulations that governs religion, there are rules and regulations that governs politics, and so it is in research. The relationship between ethics and morality is similar to that between logic and thinking, or that between theology and religion. Why ethics in research? Ethics aims to achieve two fundamental objectives: to tell us how we ought to act in a given situation, to provide us with strong reasons for doing so. It is important for maintaining public trust, especially when it comes to other people's money, which is part of what we're learning to do here. Adherence to research requirements and best practices, especially when it comes to international funds, international research, where you have to collaborate with people you've never met, where you have to do research with people you might never get to see. You just collaborators online and you've written a grant together and you have to share a lot of things together. If you do not follow the codes of ethics, there might be issues at the long run. Ethical responsibilities of researchers. Each individual scientist has the ethical responsibility to seek knowledge and to strive to improve the quality of life. Requirements of scientists. Sorry for those that are not in the science section. This was actually made for another program. Competence. Report results. Competencies. Report results accurately. Manage resources honestly, acknowledge each other, which is part of what we've spoken about today when it comes to authorship and all that, then consider the consequences guiding the research. Ethical principles of research this is just a pot of puree of all the things that are involved together, and part of them I've said. Integrity, you have to have a code of conduct that shows that you don't have anything to hide. Competency, if I'm a clinical pathologist and we're writing a proposal and I don't know, personally I don't know anything about statistics, and I claim to know, when we get to the point where we have to do the statistics and we have gotten funds to do the research already, then there will be trouble, because my collaborator too might not know anything to do with statistics, and we cannot get a statistician on board because we cannot afford it. So by just hiding under the prefaces that because I'm a PhD in clinical pathology means I should have something to do with statistics, and I really don't, and it's not a criteria that I must, but hiding under that privilege that because I have a degree, then I should have this expertise will cause trouble. So you should be clear and plain. Then justice, which is fair. My voice is naturally loud, so maybe I should keep this. Sorry, my voice is naturally loud. I'm a teacher.
I can see.
Justice, which is just, which here means just fair play. When you're doing research, then dignity, what you hold strongly to and you believe strongly in, don't cheat other people by it. Then responsibility, you have to be responsible to your duties. When I got to Kenya, the first set of researchers I met didn't want to, work with me, and I was wondering what is wrong with these guys. And later they explained to me that they got a grant that a Nigerian was on board, and as soon as he got his money, he just turned his back.
Yeah.
So when they saw me, they couldn't forget the past. And that was just because of the guy's irresponsibility. You've suffered, it's not easy, see what we're going through. You've suffered to put the grants together, you've gotten the funding, now you get the money and implement and report and you just turn your back. So we have to be responsible to whatever we hold on to. Then honesty, all that is a pot of purity together, and also privacy. You don't come and start to discuss personal things when you're supposed to be doing the work properly. Then we go to plagiarism, which is another section of ethics. We, at the PhD stage or pre or post PhD stage, I don't think we have much to talk about when it concerns plagiarism. We know quite a few, so this is just as a way of reminder. Plagiarism is scientific misconduct which has to do with fabrications, falsification or doctoring of data and results, and undue replication of research. There are so many branches of plagiarism, but the thing, what it boils down to is the originality of whatever you're doing. Don't represent your data twice. One data goes for one project. Don't pick part of data from one project and attach to another one and all that. So it's just, there are things that we normally know and we should not jump the gun when it comes to it. Then publication misconduct and how it has got to do with plagiarism, different forms and severity. And the paper must be original to the authors. We've had cases in my institution where people do self-plagiarism or even plagiarism of other people's work. Self-plagiarism is like I do a project now, I get funding for another project, and I don't want to, they're a little bit similar, and I don't want to spend money to do the other part completely, so I take this part that I have published and is full data on itself. I take a part of it and attach to a little part of the other one, and I merge it up together, and now I have two full research data complete, one half from this added to this half of this, and we've had cases like that in my institution, and even professors. Both institutions. Where even professors had to go for it. So it's a duplication or submission, duplicate submissions, duplicate publications, non-acknowledgement of prior research or researchers, non-identification of all co-authors. We said something about authorship earlier in the day. Plagiarism is inappropriate or inadequate quotation, summarization, paraphrasing of other people's work. For students, this is where we really have issues because we're just growing and we've not gotten to the, some of us have and some of us are getting there, to the stage where you really have your own big data, where you're publishing full-blown. But where we have issues as students is when you're writing your literature review and you just, we call it copying and pasting. You get some students, you say, give me your literature review by next week, and the next morning is by your door. You'll be wondering, how did this happen? They just go and boom, 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 arrange them side by side and send to you. So copying and pasting is one thing that students like me and you do a lot and is wrong. You should, there's nothing wrong in copying and pasting, but there's something wrong in submitting what you have copied and pasted. You copy and paste to inform yourself. You sit down, you read it again, look at the frequency of what they have done, what has been written, put your own idea on the slate and follow the frequency and the flow. So at the end of the day, it's your own words you're giving out. So I think that we've had enough on plagiarism. Then these are guidelines for avoiding plagiarism, how to use your own words, compare the context and the intent, and give credit to who is due, especially when you're copying people's words, use quotation marks, cite the complete references, then common knowledge is audience dependent. Then we go to ethical approvals. This is, as a vet, I'm on the board of animal use ethics. So ethical approval is a very big issue, especially when it comes to using animals or humans for research. So the most important thing is to remember the 3 R's. When you're, no, let's start from when you are writing your proposals, because that's where we're here. When you're writing your proposals, imagine that you have to have ethical approval. if your work concerns ethical approval. So as you're writing your proposals, you should be sure that you're considering that you have to submit that proposal to the ethical approval board. So like when looking at fine details of how to win the grant, you should also look at fine details of how your proposal will pass the ethical committee. Because if you win your grant from a funding body that's not concerned, most of them are concerned, but that is not concerned with the ethical approval of the work, and you get to your institution and you want to do the research, and the ethical committee does not approve, then there's a problem somewhere. It's either you go and meet your funders and do the research with them and you leave your institution. So the best way is, as you're submitting, or even before you submit to your funding body, submit to the ethical body of your institution. Because for what I know, even some funding bodies will ask you if your institution has given you ethical approval. Some of them even ask you to attach that ethical approval to your proposal. So if your research is the type that needs ethical approval, please, as you're writing and cleaning up your proposal, also have consideration to the body you're going to submit for ethical approval. There are basically two types. Some institutions have them matched. My institution has it different. We have human, we have animals, but some institutions have them together. So the three major things you're supposed to really consider is ability, the 3 R's. We call them replacement, reduction, and refinement. For replacement, this is just a substitution of other models of animals in case if the model you're using is not really the most ideal. Can the hypothesis be tested or the training be done with cell culture? As in, can you go back to in vitro instead of in vivo? Can you use computer stimulation instead of using animals and other non-animal systems? That's replacement. Then for reduction, what is the minimum number of animals that can still yield the statistically significant result? In Africa, in Nigeria, in Ibadan, we believe that as students, when you use a lot of animals, your research has more basis. That's what we students feel, but it's not like that. Instead of using 30 rats per group, you can use 3, you can use 6 and get the same results. So that's what that section is about. And then refinement is what efforts are being made to eliminate or minimize animal pain and distress. That is a part that is also quite important, especially as a veterinarian. We have to look at the anesthesia, how to give analgesics, alternative experimental designs must be considered, and most especially housing. We say we do, when we're writing proposals, especially those that have used animals, we say we give water and food ad libitum. Feeling that is just a normal phrase you should use. If you're doing a nutrition, we have a nutritionist somewhere amongst us, and you're supposed to give 5 grams of a particular protein, and you've now said in your proposal that you're giving food ad libitum. How do you expect to do that? You're measuring what you're giving, and you're still saying ad libitum. So these are the little words you should watch out for and don't get into trouble when you're submitting. Then types of possible harm to animals, they are physical, they are psychological, they are social, they are economical, they are legal. Physical, we've talked about pain. Psychological, especially when you're using primates. We use primates for like a viral research a lot, and so when you're using primates, those are larger animals that have emotional states. My colleague has said even chicken has emotions too, but I've not seen the emotions of chicken. Then socially, you should treat them like animals. You know, give them time, give them attention. Worst case still, if you're using dogs, dogs are very good social animals. Because you're using a dog for an experiment does not mean you can't walk the dog. Even if it's once in the lifetime of the experiment. Don't just lock them up in the cage and expect good results. Then economical, you have to consider how much you're spending for the research. Then legally, there are some institutions that now have attached to their ethical committee a legal team. Because some institutions will give you ethical approval. If that approval has to go to a national or international body, a legal case could come up. So some institutions have now matched their legal team of the institution to the ethical approval team. So that's why the legal part of it came up. Thank you very much.